Sexy jobs don't tend to pay very well. Since we began releasing these videos a few months ago, I get 15 or 20 emails and messages on social media per day asking me, how do I get my dream job in the car business? And even though the first 50 or 60 pages of my book are sort of about my path into and through the car business, and I talk a lot about it here, rather than compiling all my notes for each of those emails, I figured I would just make a video here with some of my tips and ideas about how to get into and through the car industry. But the first step is really get much more specific, because the car business, or even the exotic car world, encompasses tens of thousands of very unique jobs in a lot of different settings. I mean, you've got manufacturing jobs like design, manufacturing, engineering, testing, safety compliance, marketing, after sales. Then you've got dealer jobs that most of us are familiar with, sales, finance, management, parts, service, but also the business side of things. There's entrepreneurial things, which obviously we talk a lot about here, like VINwiki or like the rental company or shows or events and things like that. There's the media and the journalists that document all of it and help the marketing process through video, written, all sorts of content production. And you've got the customer experience guys, which might work for manufacturers, but are frequently freelance or with other agencies, and they're showing the cars to the world and conducting customer drives and all sorts of really, really fun stuff. And they have a blast. And then you've got the government side of things that are creating laws and regulations and all sorts of things that sort of support or enforce the car industry. You learn pretty quick that this isn't like a lot of industries where there's the degree you get and the internship you get and the early job and then the next job and that path through your career. Education's a little bit more contextual, where certainly you'll find people in the car business that have a 7th grade education and some that have a law degree, but there's not necessarily a degree path or a requirement, but it's really about learning what college is for. It's for teaching you how to learn, how to survive, how to adapt, and how to present yourself. And the maturity that you get through that process is absolutely critical in the car business, because you really don't get a lot of training. It's kind of a sink or swim industry where your hand is not going to be held through the early stages or through really any of the learning that you've got to do. You've got to evaluate what skills are required and then learn how to acquire those skills for yourself. And you can start doing that today, even if you're years from trying to get your first car business job, because you can see the people in the roles that you want and start to learn about their path. Because if you surveyed 10 of them that have your dream job, each of them got there in some different way. And it's not going to be just the fairest process that you've ever imagined. It's a very political thing. And it's absolutely going to be who you know that gets you your first job, but then what you know and how you do it that allows you to keep it and be successful. So as you learn your way through this and as you network and make connections and see what people are doing, it's critical that you maintain a solid reputation and that you don't disqualify yourself from eligibility, because in a world that has a very subjective understanding of what success looks like, you don't want to give people reasons to not hire you or not keep you or not recommend you or to fire you. We all want to live our own lives, but if you've got a DUI or a bunch of tickets or green hair or visible tattoos, it doesn't matter what a rock star you are, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to find yourself discriminated against in this industry. I knew when I went out pursuing the Cannonball record that there was a pretty good chance that I could limit or potentially even eliminate my eligibility to work within the industry, and at times it seemed close to that. But fortunately, I was able to make my way through different paths and different ideas and sort of learn what the industry is all about. And one thing I learned early on is that sexy jobs don't tend to pay very well. It's important that you kind of understand that if there's something that you really want to do and it seems like an awful lot of fun, there's probably a line of people behind you that are ready to do the same thing. There's probably people commenting here that are looking for a way to have your dream job. And so it's not just about knowing everything there is to know about cars. If you ask most of the people that have the jobs you really want, they probably don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the kind of magazine racer knowledge that a lot of us have. But once you can combine that with the skills they do have of how to survive in the industry and work through the political games and then be successful towards whatever outcomes they're seeking, then you become an ultra powerful person. And it's tough because, you think you're going to make a lot of money, but in most cases, you can never make more than the top sales guy at a dealership, even if you run the whole organization, because that's just the way the compensation plans are sort of set up. But as you become your own training, as you learn your way through, as you take the jobs that might seem beneath you in the moment, but learn what they have to offer, and then progress through the industry towards the end goal or your ultimate idea, you'll also learn that everybody burns out. You don't find a lot of really old guys in the car world that are really happy with their lives or have a great work-life balance. It's just not something that goes with the territory. Hard work is usually rewarded with the chance to do more hard work. And you're going to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week a lot of times without much thanks for it, and potentially with compensation that's not directly reflected by the effort that you put in. But it's one of those things that the system is sort of designed for you to do a job for a little while, get sort of tired of it, move to the next one, get sort of tired of it, move to the next one. Now, in some environments, like an exotic car dealership, that can be very hard. There wasn't really an opportunity for me to move up and get my boss's job or his boss's job because they weren't ready to leave those jobs, and you can't go work at the other Lamborghini dealership in town. So you kind of have to learn that, you may end up having to sort of make your own path in order for yourself to survive or have a long career in that. We're always told, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But for guys like me, I'm 32 years old, and the people that are younger than me in this millennial generation, that's not really the way we look at the world. We want to play really hard and we want a job that sort of supports that. But the car business does not tend to tell you like, oh, go take some time off, have a sabbatical, have a long maternity leave or anything like that. It's a fairly cutthroat industry and it's very demanding, and you'll soon learn that if you want to go out and have the job that lets you play all the time, you can find it. It's just never going to make you rich. So I don't mean for this to be a clickbait video or an unfulfilled title, but there really is no like stepping stone, surefire way to get any dream job in the car industry. There are certainly ways you can network, skills you can sharpen, and paths you can take to make yourself a better candidate, because in reality, you're gonna get a shot. There's a ton of turnover, there's a ton of jobs. I mean, you could go to any website for any manufacturer and there's hundreds of jobs posted in all sorts of capacities. You can walk into almost any dealership and they'll let you write your name on a business card and start selling cars. Most of the guys that sell cars at Lamborghini dealerships were just really good at selling cheaper cars and they got a chance to move up. But it's important that you're patient and that you understand that it's a process to sort of get to this career, and to understand a little bit of the perspective on some of the meteoric success stories that we see. I mean, for instance, Christian von Koenigsegg builds unbelievable cars and has a great company behind it, but you don't become a hypercar manufacturer in your 20s without some hardcore family money making that possible. Similarly, Brett David runs Lamborghini Miami, probably the best Lamborghini dealership in the world. And he inherited that from his father when he's 18 years old, which is an unbelievable thing, and he's done as well as anybody ever could. And I couldn't be more proud of him and the success that he has, and that doesn't take anything away from it. What it does mean is that if that's your goal, or if this is something that you want to do, if you're doing it yourself, it might take you a few more decades to get there, and you can't let that discourage you. And we've got to look at how to use your opportunities to really take advantage of and do these great things. And you can do it as long as you pay attention and make the right decisions and are patient. Because you really want to make sure as you go into this that it is what you want to do. There's a lot of miserable people in the car world, and it can really shift your perspective. The rental business almost ruined my ability to peacefully drive exotic cars because I became so hyper-conscious about how much it costs per mile to operate them. And it's hard to kind of get away from that mindset until you do a few profitable deals and realize that those numbers don't always play out. You know, seeing behind the curtain with dealerships and manufacturers kind of changes your perception of some brands and the way they do business. It's important that, you kind of go into this knowing that you're mixing business with pleasure, and that can be great, but it can also have some consequences. And so a lot of people choose an entrepreneurial path. I have, and I certainly advise that, but I want everybody to understand that it is a lot harder. You end up not just doing the job you really wanted to set out doing, but cleaning up the warehouse and cleaning the bathrooms and motivating people who don't want to do their jobs. And usually you work a lot longer hours, a lot harder than you would anywhere else. I mean, if I wanted to make money selling cars, I'd just go back to the dealership. I mean, my effective commission rate most months was 40 to 55% of our profit. I could never replicate that after expenses operating on my own. And as an entrepreneur, you've got to find your own funding, either through a ton of debt or pre-selling things like Extreme Experience did, or through friends, family, and fools, your normal sources of seed capital. And you're gonna go broke. I mean, I have, and it happens, and I'll probably do it again. I mean, it's the nature of an entrepreneurial struggle. And so you need to go into that eyes open, and the same thing for any job in the car business. You can do it, you will get a chance, just be patient, use the opportunities that you have, and along the way, I'm sure you'll come up with some great stories to tell.